Hi, I'm Brenda Such. Welcome to Coipcast, where we talk about new, trending, or just fascinating technologies in online education. In this episode, we tackle one of the most popular questions in online education. How can online students complete lab requirements for their programs? To help guide us through some possibilities is the master lecturer for the UF Microbiology Department and the Microbiology Lab Supervisor, Dr. Monika Oli. Welcome, Dr. Oli.
Hello, Brenda.
Hello. Dr. Oli, we like to get to know you and together move through the past, present, and future of online education through your lens. So in our first segment, Digital Origin Story, also DOS, could you please share what were your first memories with online education?
So my first memories with online education were when I just started at UF teaching January 2011. And within probably about 6 to 8 months, my chair, Dr. Eric Triplett, said, we're going to put our bachelor's program online. And
2011.
Yep.
Okay.
Or maybe early 2012.
Sure.
And so all of our lecture classes within a very short amount of time went online.
Okay.
And I said, well, we can't put the labs online because it doesn't work. So the labs, instead of putting them online,
Right.
we developed a bootcamp lab so the students would actually come to campus and then do all the activities in a very short amount of time, 10 days first and then 5 days later. So we did that for a couple of years. And then the 10 days were too long for some students because a lot of our online students had families or jobs or lived abroad. So it was hard for them to be here for 10 days. So I developed an online prep lab, the Lab Skills Bootcamp, what it was called. And so we did the preparation to get ready for the lab, and some of these tools that can be taught online, obviously, like bioinformatics, data analysis. And then they came to campus for 5 days. So that was the beginning of my online career.
So it sounds like you were given this ask to take all these courses online. Before then, did you have any exposure to online education or no?
Nobody in the department had.
Nobody. And then, so how did you then? I think I'm asking this because sometimes when we talk to people, they have experiences where either they were a student or a faculty member who, had to be engrossed in the online environment, that you're going from no online experience to then needing to be. So how did you even start finding out what would be good ideas for things to go online? How did you get that education so quickly?
So I think being a scientist, I'm always curious about how things work and how things are done. And when I was tasked, to put part of it online, I suggested that, I just found people who would help me. I found instructional designers and I found people who did videos. And so, UF is amazing in terms of resources for online teaching. It's absolutely fantastic. And so I found people to help out. And I brought the ideas and then they helped me shape them a little bit.
Okay.
And it worked out all right.
Okay. Well, that's actually a nice segue to our second segment, which is called Bits and Bytes, where we want to know a little bit more about your experiences with the labs and online education. So please walk us through when you were first, again, helping the students get online, knowing these requirements. You just mentioned what that experience started off like, but maybe some more details of what was step 1 for you, step 2, etc.
So after the first Lab Skills Bootcamp class I taught online, I developed another class after I was on sabbatical, or my husband was on sabbatical, and I developed a class called Microbes Without Borders. And that was an online class, and it was developed for the International Scholars Program. And then also it was a dual enrollment class for high school students. So it was really fun and was like, interactive, and I did activities at home, and I did a travel map, and I had some projects. So that was fun. And again, I had help from instructional designers, I think from Coip, which was really fantastic to work with your group. And it's just, really so much skill and talent you have. And it just was a really good class and looks good and feels good. And so we've been teaching that for a while. And, at that point, I still said to my boss, because he mentioned, should you teach lab online? It's hard for the students to come. And I was like, well, if you ask me to teach labs online, I'd maybe quitting. And
That was a deal breaker,
that was a
everyone.
deal breaker
That's
for
when we almost
everybody,
lost
because
Dr. Oli.
that's what most people said, right? Before
Right.
the pandemic,
That's
things
right.
weren't possible.
That's right.
And then came March 2000, and I was in Costa Rica, and I got an email from my boss and said, "Well, do you think we could put labs online now?"
You didn't give up. You didn't give up.
And I was like, "Absolutely, we shall do that immediately."
Sure.
And then, so as UF came back after the beginning of the pandemic, they came back after spring break for another week. Microbiology and cell science was 100% online, including all the labs. And so, yeah, that's how that part started. And
Sure.
then,
Sure. So I like how you brought us through that journey, because it does seem like it is a deal breaker for many programs or courses when you have face-to-face labs and then all of a sudden it's like, is online possible? And then it's like, nope, and then that stops. But I guess when you were in Costa Rica, the pandemic happened, you said yes. I guess what were steps in your head that maybe it was the evolution of technology or anything like that? What made online education then possible?
well, I think the necessity.
Sure, that is a huge
makes a lot of things
that's
happen,
huge, yes.
and our own safety of instructors,
Sure,
obviously.
of course.
But then also, I think I'm a fairly creative person.
Yes.
My wheels started spinning,
Okay.
and I was like, so what can we actually do online?
Okay.
And I did tons of research and looked up all different opportunities. And so the online labs went through a couple of different reiterations. First, we worked with a company, with an outside provider, because we have 1,000 students a semester, so it's impossible
So it's
to
not
make
even
our own kits.
small.
No,
Right.
it was a big operation.
Okay.
So 1,000
Okay.
students a semester was a lot.
Okay.
And so we used an outside provider for some of the other classes. But then,
I'm sorry, may I pause you? So when you're saying thousands of students with courses, how many courses are we looking at right
there
now?
are 3 different labs,
Three different labs.
levels
Okay,
of lab.
got it. Okay.
And so the pandemic finished, everybody went back in person. But then we kept, for our online students especially, we kept a section of online labs, and we just shipped, I think the second batch went out today, 40 kits, and they're like big boxes
Wow.
with all sorts of ingredients and cultures and loops and pipettes and, all sorts of different experiments. And so we shipped out the boxes for our 40 students who will take the lab in the fall.
And then that's part of, I guess, their fee, lab fees for the course.
Right,
etc.
right.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounded like you employed an outside source to help with that.
Initially, now we make them in-house.
Now you make them in-house.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we have a whole group of lab staff, and they're fantastic.
And then you package these care packages, these labs, to the students. Is there anything else that you all employ to make the online component?
Yeah, so one thing about, a lot of people, when they send out kits, they don't expect something to come back. But because we have valuable things in there, like we give them 3 real micropipettes, what you use in the lab, and, other tools. So they're actually sending the box back. So they get a return slip in the box, and then at the end of the lab, they send the kits back.
Okay. So
And they get like a little microscope and all sorts of stuff. So it's pretty cool.
That's a great souvenir.
Yes, it's pretty cool.
How much are one of those? I was like, maybe I'll get one too. No, that's really good. So then in the online environment, if you can tell us a little bit more or just walk us through, you talked about 3 labs, maybe the Bootcamp, what that means for an online student. So if I'm a student, I want to take this online course, which course is this again?
That's MCP 3023 for microbiology majors only.
Okay.
We have online microbiology.
Understood. And then, so if I sign up for this course, what happens then after that?
Right. So you get the box shipped,
Okay.
and you pay lab fees so that the costs are covered, which is exactly the same cost as for in-person labs. And then you get instructions. So I'm in the process of finishing a press book, which is just solely, for the online lab and instructions.
Yes. I'm going to pause you there. So I think for the audience, a press book is no, that's totally fine. Is a open source online platform where Dr. Oli and any faculty member would, almost like a website, create these pages of text which I think would then, like, you're crafting it to be like a manual for the students, and then that way it's something digital, free, and shared with the students.
Yep.
Very cool. Sorry,
So-
go ahead.
So the students don't have to pay any fees
Right.
for the instructions,
Right.
and so it's got all the instructions in it, and then they also do some projects and do the activities. So there's like weekly activities, and I do have some undergraduate TAs. So if they have questions, because it can be confusing, being online, and so again, little bit back to the digital origin story. When I started, teaching online, I tried to take courses because I wanted to see what does it feel like on the other side as a student. So I took some online courses and realized that some things has to be done a certain way to remove or to reduce the confusion as well. So yeah, and then they're online, and then they take an exam, a midterm exam, just like they do in person, and they have to videotape themselves because I need to make sure that they are actually doing the work, right?
Right.
So they have to videotape themselves doing the activities, and then upload that as a part of the exam. But it's been working well, and then again, to avoid any kind of plagiarism or somebody else doing the work, is they have to authenticate everything. So whenever they do work, they have to have the ID on the table so that they know that they're actually doing the work and not somebody else.
And
But
now,
I think they're learning a lot from the activities.
well, that's good. And then how many semesters, or
It's just one semester.
Just
It's
one.
a whole semester, right?
and then how long have you been doing that type of format?
So that's now in its second
Okay.
year. So again, it's as I said before,
Different
it's never finished.
iterations,
It's always
right.
improvements and
Right.
changes.
No, that's good.
But they follow pretty much the same curriculum as our students in the lab.
Okay.
And so we adapted a lot of things what we do in the lab, for the online environment.
Right.
And it's all approved by environmental health and safety, so they're safe even handling bacteria at home. We send bacteria, and they're doing all that at home as well.
Also,
Yes.
for X amount, you can get
Microscope
a microscope
and bacteria and
and
everything.
bacteria. So that's a great deal. So then, with the online part, you said you took online courses. Now,
Yep.
can you speak a little bit? I think what you're referencing to the students' online experiences, their experiences in Canvas, the learning management system. Can you walk us through a little bit of how you organized that part of the learning experience?
Right. So it's usually just the introductions and the basic information first. And then the first part of the lab is our skills and tools. So they learn, all the basic skills. And then they go into diagnostic microbiology.
And that's through like readings or from your manual
From
and
the manual
videos?
and videos, yeah.
Okay.
So we have videos for all the activities. So again, I'm trying to employ UDL, Universal Design of Learning, so that, we have for those who like to read, we have, the materials to read. For those who like visual, and they do it visually. And then for the tactile ones, they're actually doing all the activities. So I'm trying to address, everybody's learning needs as well, which I've learned a lot about, which is pretty cool. So we're trying to be really accommodating, especially because, a lot of students have jobs and kids and all sorts of things. So we want to make sure that we, make sure that it works for them as well.
That's good.
And we have undergraduate teaching assistants who help the students. If they have any questions, they can reach out, rather than me answering texts 24/7. We have
Right.
TAs as well
Right.
who are helping out with that as well, which is fantastic.
So that does seem like it's work, but it seems like it's working.
Absolutely.
That's good.
And it's worth it.
That's
That's the most
good.
important thing, that they're
Yes.
learning and that they get a good education.
Yes.
And we had online students who, it's actually really fantastic because they get jobs. Either they, some of them go to medical school or dental school, some get jobs in labs. Even they have an online degree, but they can still be extremely successful in the sciences, which is great to hear.
That is really encouraging, especially for an instructor who works so hard. I know that I can hype Dr. Oli up. She really does work really hard. And then I think something that we've also talked about in the past is that you have this online lab experience, but you also have online students come and do an in-person lab, I think, for 5 days.
Yeah, the bootcamp lab
The
is still
bootcamp?
going. Yeah, so they have a choice now. If they're able to come, they can come to campus, and it's like a 5-day, 8 to 5, Saturday through Wednesday, where they come. They stay in Gainesville, and then they're in the lab all day long, and they're just really immersed. And it's great to watch them because you can just see them, light up and see how they understand what's going on. So that's a fun one to teach as well.
Now, when we go into our third segment here, which is called Enter or Delete, Speaking about your past experience, what you were just telling us about the wonderful things you've done online, in person, in the present. Now, about the future, what do you think should be more in the discussions of online courses and the lab experience? Or are there any things that you wish wouldn't be the primary focus or might need to be tweaked in the conversations?
For the online labs in general. So yeah, I've definitely kept a pretty close eye on what other people are doing as well. And there was this great group through U of Online with Abby Cummings, where we met, like once a week, maybe once a month, and people shared their experiences, resources, and it was really, really fruitful. And so we developed this great document with different ideas and resources for different subjects, not just microbiology. And that was really great. So just to see what other people are doing as well.
Sorry, when you said resources, what kind of like online readings or
Well,
what type of resources?
Everything from experiments we're doing at home to simulations to companies to, like all different type of resources, papers that were published on something. So that was very, very useful just to see what other people are doing as well. I think it can be better than just putting videos online, because I think you don't
That's
learn
fair.
a lot by just watching the videos.
Sure.
I think the hands-on is important, and I think you can do that everywhere. I mean, microbiology is in everyday life, chemistry is everyday life, physics in everyday life. So I mean, there's lots of things that can be done at home, I think, quite easily. I've tried out various different commercially available simulations where you just click buttons and do things. I'm not very excited about them, and I did a survey and my students weren't very excited either. So I think some of it is technology. I think once virtual reality or augmented reality comes a little bit further, I think that would be a better idea than just clicking on different buttons. But it's better than just videos, I guess. And then I think really trying to be creative for everybody who's tasked with this. I mean, it's a lot. It's a ton of work. It's really a ton of work. But it's rewarding to see what you can do and what the students learn. I think that's, for me, it's the most important, to have student excitement and student learning and making sure that that's happening.
And then back to that creativity, what would you recommend to other faculty members, maybe at other universities or even at the University of Florida, on how to cultivate, I guess, that creativity and thinking about online labs?
I think one thing would be, to talk more to each other. I think we're all sort of a little bit like lonely wolves who do our own stuff and maybe our own team, but we don't cross-fertilize ideas across departments and colleges. I think that would be a really good idea, just to have like a team, like people who teach lab, to share experiences, and even if it's different subjects, but, the execution can be the same in some ways.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, Dr. Oli. Thank you, audience, for listening to us at Coipcast. Until next time.